trans people are having a really bad time in the UK right now, and they're essentially trying to roll back all of our rights. So we really have to, step up and say no. So the Supreme Court ruling earlier this year essentially redefined the word sex in the Equality Act for the purposes of the Equality Act 2010, writing trans people out of it, essentially. And now we have the EHRC and various politicians trying to push forward a great overreach of an interpretation of that would essentially ban trans people from most aspects of public life, especially when it comes to things like toilets, changing rooms, etc.
So it wasn't entirely a surprise, but it was definitely a shock. And then it felt as if we had to recognise that the state isn't for us. The justice system isn't on our side. When I say us, I mean trans people, but I mean poor people and minorities, people of colour. The justice system visibly is against us. And I think we've always known that, really. I think for a lot of trans people who haven't been involved politically, it was a moment of clarity.
What this really is a potential employment crisis, because if your workplace knows that you're trans, they're either going to force you to use the wrong toilet, or they're going to out you by forcing you to use gender-neutral toilets. And if we resist that, because I, for one, will not be taking part in my own humiliation, then that becomes an HR issue, and you could lose your job over it, right?
We were hoping in the last year that with the election of the Labour government that the pressure would come off a little bit. But the governments have intensified the pressure, sadly, and it feels like they're acceding to all the demands of the worst people in the world, and it feels like we're very much on the back foot.
No one fully understands what the legal implications actually are, and everybody is kind of waiting with bated breath for the EHRC's statutory guidance, which was supposed to come out by the end of summer, but seems like it's being pushed back further.
If you remember that in the early 80s, only 11% of people thought that homosexual relationships were always, or mostly always, okay, and look where gay people have come since then, I think we're in a much better position than that. That's my hope.
We, more than we've ever done so before in the UK, have begun to recognize our collective power. And that gives me some hope, because I think if we join together, we have a lot more strength, and we actually can change these ludicrous policy decisions.